Welcome to Murder and Everything Else. My name is Joy.
And my name is Cheryl. Joy and I are two very old friends who love to talk about murder and everything else. So I'm going to talk about everything else right now, which is I apologize for the leaf blower that you're probably going to hear occasionally on this episode. It made me cranky this morning. It's not just the leaf blower, it's all of the gardening apparatus. The freaking thing they use to trim the bushes with, lawnmowers. I want to know why, with the technology we have and the environmentally awareness that we try to embrace, and like we have these hybrid cars and these electric cars. But what can someone do something about the gardening shit, because it is the most annoying. It like grates on my nerves. Like it truly does. I'm not kidding. I opened the door to take Callie out and I smelled gas. And from their tools, it's just like so one of my friends has a hybrid car and she said it's so quiet that it's almost dangerous, right? You can't even tell the engine's on. So like
Yeah.
I just implore whoever designed or invented a quiet engine, can you just reach out to the gardening manufacturers and help them? Because I'm sure it's not good for the environment either, this shit that they're using. But why does it have to be so noisy? Can someone please help me? What do you
Yeah.
think about that?
No,
Oh, I
I
can't stand it.
I will say that there is a movement, speaking of gas,
Not your gas, Joy.
there's a movement. I see signs up all the time, and especially in the fall, and it says, don't rake your leaves, leave them as ground cover. They provide habitat for small rodents and moles, voles, squirrels, mice, and also like bunny rabbits and things like that. And also, it's good for the ground because those leaves go back into the ground and they break down, and all those nutrients feed the ground and feed all the animals.
Oh, I've never
And
seen a
they're
sign
saying,
like that.
yeah, don't rake everything up. And what is our obsession with raking everything and making everything look so coiffed? I mean, if you think about it, people, landscapers come in and chop down, the branches so there's no new blossoms and buds. And once in a while, you'll hear a gardener or somebody who's really into plants and stuff complain about how there's no bees and there's no butterflies and there's no
Mm,
bugs. And it's because, we've basically like messed with their habitats and used
right.
pollutants and poisons to kill weeds. And, it's really awful. But,
Yeah.
I
Interesting.
will say that the leaf blower is a gigantic noise maker, and it's so ridiculous because as soon as you blow the leaves away, a stiff wind comes up and blows them back.
Well, yeah. And
So,
also, where are you blowing it? I had an old neighbor that, like, she almost got in a fight with her neighbor because he had a leaf blower, and guess where he was blowing his shit?
onto
Into
her
her
yard.
yard. Yeah. Like, so where is it going? Come on, people.
Well, a lot of times I see in like apartment buildings, things like that, they'll blow it onto a tarp, wrap up the leaves, and then they take them like to the dump. But what happens when the wind comes up at the dump and blows it off the mulch pile? I mean, it's
No, I mean,
so
come on.
ridiculous.
I just see these leaf blowers with the big, the pack on their back, and then they're blowing, and I just see a big dust cloud. They look like Pigpen from the Peanuts gang. Is it Pigpen
Yeah.
or Linus?
The one that gets
Anyway,
me is when they're blowing on a busy road and then cars are
oh,
going by,
you're
so they
driving.
have to
Oh,
stop, but the wind from the cars blows the mess all
we're
over the
back.
road. So I'm like, that seems really counterproductive and a huge waste of time.
No, and no, you see them stopping. I see them just blowing it into the cars as you're driving
Oh
by.
no,
You're like, thanks a lot.
I always see them stop.
No.
Huh.
Anyway, that's my big
Well, you
gripe
know
for the
what? We'd
day.
love to hear from you. What do you guys think about leaf blowers? Let us know. Roaring on into updates. I went to an HOA get together last night and I was telling someone about how I only am a part time nanny. And then he said, well, but you do that podcast and you're probably raking it in over there. And I'm just here. I know, isn't that funny? I'm just here to update all of our lovely listeners to let you know that not only is this podcast free to you, it's also
It's
not paying
free.
us a red cent. So, um, so
It's a
just
labor
know,
of love. It's a labor of love, as they
it's
say.
called a fool's errand. All right. I mean, I just looked at him like, who the fuck you think we are? This isn't Smartless.
Smartless.
We're not getting a 50
10 million.
billion dollar like
Oh my
payout with
God.
Sirius XM for the love of God. I was like,
Wow.
yeah, that's rich. I was like,
Oh
you know who's
gosh.
not rich? Cheryl and me. So anyway, as we
Whew.
record this, Cheryl, you know this,
Mm.
but you guys, those of you who are listening, we obviously record on a different day than we release these episodes. But as we're recording this, it is St. Patrick's Day or St. Patty's Day. Many of you know the legend of St. Patrick's Day. Apparently, he rid Ireland of snakes, and that he is the person who came up with the idea of the Holy Trinity by the shamrock, because it's got three leaves. So I
Mhm.
don't know if you ever heard that, but if you are listening to this episode, it comes out on March 30th. So it's no longer St. Patty's Day, but happy St. Patty's Day to all of our Irish brothers and sisters and out there. And also, if you're listening to this on March 30th, the day it's released, it's National Turkey Neck Soup Day. Yuck. I'm
Not turkey soup,
sorry.
but turkey neck soup.
Turkey Neck Soup Day. Okay,
Interesting.
first of all, why is there a day for everything? I think that's the stupidest thing ever. And also, when you buy a
Oh,
chicken or a turkey and you reach inside the body and you pull out what looks like a penis and some testicles, well, apparently the penis shaped thing is the neck. There's like a chicken neck or a turkey
oh,
neck, and you're supposed to throw it in a pot and make soup with it. No, thank you. I
thank
do
you.
not want penis soup.
Well, that's so like, so is there a separate day for just the rest of the turkey? Or is there a day for
Yeah, it's
every
called
single turkey
Thanksgiving
part?
Day. It's called Thanksgiving Day. Hello.
Thanksgiving Day and Turkey Neck Day. Is there a turkey feet day?
I just think it's so weird. And when you buy chicken feet in the grocery store, they call them chicken
No, I don't.
paws. They call them chicken paws.
Oh,
Isn't that cute?
gross.
I know.
No,
But I got to tell
that's
you, with a
disgusting.
nice, flavorful gochujang sauce and like fried up, those chicken paws are tasty.
Oh,
Okay?
you've actually eaten that?
Oh, so good. Kind of
I've
crunchy and crispy, but
never had that.
tasty.
It's
Lots
like
of
pork
flavor.
rinds.
Anyway, you got any updates, Cheryl?
I do, and mine's not as fun, of course. So by the time this is uploaded, it will have been out for a couple of weeks. But for those of you living under a rock, the 911 call for the Idaho murders where the four college students were killed, the 911 call has been released and it's very upsetting. And it changed so this entire time, there's been a lot of scrutiny of the two surviving roommates, one in particular that said that she saw someone in the house at 4
Mm-hmm.
a.m. So there's been a lot of scrutiny on them. And not to where, well, there were people that were actually accusing them of being involved, which I thought was ridiculous. I never thought that they were involved, but I I'm going to be honest. I was someone that was criticizing, why would you wait 8+ hours to call the police? I don't understand this. Oh, also, before the 911 audio was released, the transcript was released first. And it's so interesting. It's very telling that you cannot get much from text. So just like when you text your friends and all of that, don't get, upset. Don't read into stuff too much, because you cannot, it's not the same as hearing the call, just reading the
Right.
transcript. Also, what came out are texts between the two surviving roommates the night of, or the murder. It happened early morning, right? That they were very afraid and they were wondering what's going on. So we're going to have to wait till trial for all of these people to get up on the witness stand and say, tell what actually happened. It's hard to piece it together, but I would just say the 911 call, really, I was on the bandwagon of criticizing why they waited so long, yada yada yada. And you and I had a short discussion about it. And I could not believe that no one mentioned on the 911 call to the dispatcher, oh my God, there's blood everywhere. But when
Right.
you listen to it, um, I honestly think they were in such shock that you don't expect this to happen. You don't
Yeah.
expect to wake up and have this in your house. I think they were in complete shock. And I heard on one channel, someone said, this is not the age of calling 911. It's for younger people. It's reaching out to your friends, right? It's social media. It's all of that. So they reached out to their friends. One was a neighbor, one I don't, and then somebody else was, I think, a good friend of Ethan. But I think for these young kids, well, they're 20, they're not technically kids, but for these young people, for this horrendous thing to happen, you're going to reach out for support. And it reminds me of the John Benet Ramsey case, where her parents, when she was missing, she was later found in the house, but when she was missing, they called their friends to come over. So it doesn't say anything, and we shouldn't criticize these young ladies because it was probably just horrific. It was
Yeah.
horrific, but being there, so anyway, that 911 call is out there. And there are people saying that it should have been released sooner. And I agree, because the two surviving roommates for the last 2 years have gone through hell as far as being criticized. So I think the
Yeah.
call sheds a light on what they were going through.
Yeah. I listened to it. It's hard to listen to.
Yeah.
Anyway, rolling into shout outs. I have a shout out for gas, kind of tying in what Cheryl was talking about earlier with the leaf blower. As I get older, I appreciate adults that fart in the wild. And just hear me out. Hear me out. It makes me
God.
feel really good about what's happening to me and my adult postmenopausal body. Um, Remember, I had some kids, and so those muscles down there just don't work the way they did. I went to this HOA thing, and I was standing next to a lady, and we were laughing and talking, and she laughed really hard, and she just went, and it was loud, and everyone heard it. I laughed my ass off. But then
Oh, was she laughing? I hope she
oh
was
yeah,
laughing
she
and
was
you weren't just laughing.
laughing. Her face turned all red, but it was so funny. And I was like, you know what? We need to embrace the occasional gas that slips out now and then. What do you think about that, Cheryl?
Well, I think that you're happy about it because it gives you a free pass to pass gas.
Well, I
Like,
gotta say, it's like it's natural. That's what your body does.
yeah,
And
yeah,
why
but
should we like I feel like we need to stop pretending that like the female body is this like, super sexy, non-smelly, non-farty, non-burpy entity when let's face it, sometimes you got gas and sometimes it just sneaks out.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes it hurts if you don't release it.
Exactly. It's not healthy to keep things bottled in,
It's
whether it's
not.
emotion, whether it's urine, whether it's gas. So I'm here to tell you, let's just be
Let
free
it out.
and open and let it out.
Yeah,
Anyway,
gosh.
Cheryl, you
All
got any
right.
shout outs?
I have a shout out to spring cleaning. It is so freeing and like it feels so good to get bagfuls and boxfuls of stuff and go and donate it so that it can be someone else's junk.
Cheryl,
I
are you cleaning
just
out of a hoarding situation?
no, Joy. This is what's so interesting. You and I have talked about it. It's like one closet can yield so much I mean, like it's you don't even have to be a hoarder. Have you done any spring cleaning?
No, but I'm going to. I promise you.
You're
I
gonna
mean,
have so much.
let's face it. I do spring cleaning on the regular. At any given time, I have
You're throwing your
two,
family stuff out.
yeah, one or two bags of clothes or kitchen items or decorative items sitting in the garage ready for donation.
Much to the dismay of the rest of your family when they're like, "Mom, what happened to that sweatshirt that I
Yeah.
loved?" And you're
No, this literally happened on the weekend because one of my kids had spring break and she goes, "What happened to all of our coats from the coat closet?" And I go, "I got rid of them. I just bagged them all up and got rid of them." And she's like, "Thanks a lot." So,
oh man.
but I
Check with
agree.
your
Spring
family member.
spring cleaning gives you such a good, refreshing feeling. And then what I always get excited about is what can I get to go in that space?
I'm sure you don't have any trouble filling the
I
spaces.
know. No trouble at all. No trouble in
Oh gosh.
paradise.
Nope. Oh boy.
Anywho, guys, this week we're heading back to murder, as you can see by the title of this episode. So, Cheryl, why don't you spell out for us what kind of mayhem you have for us this week?
Well. The last time I used the saying with friends like these, who needs enemies on our Shanquilla episode. Well, today I feel like hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. So
Oh,
today we are going to we're going to talk about a catfishing that resulted in the killing of an entire family. My sources are
wow.
ABC7 Chicago, HuffPost.com, NBC Chicago, my lady Gisela K from Grizzly True Crime on YouTube, and CBS News. When Alberto Rolon hadn't shown up for work and his wife Zoraida Bartolome's family hadn't heard from her in days, Alberto's boss and Zoraida's family requested a welfare check. So on September 7th, 2023, in Romeoville, Illinois, police discovered the bodies of an entire family. Alberto Rolon, 32, Zoraida Bartolome, 38, and their boys, 9-year-old Adriel and 7-year-old Diego, all shot to death along with 3 family dogs.
What?
Yeah, the little boys too. I don't even know how you can do that to any innocent adults, but children, like, oof, you got to be a special
Right?
kind of crazy. The murdered family had just moved from Westman, Illinois to Romeoville, Illinois in April of 2023, so just earlier that year. It was clear to police the family had been targeted, and after talking to more people who knew Zoraida, they had a person of interest, 32-year-old Nathaniel Huey Jr., a co-worker with whom Zoraida had been having an affair. But from
Oh.
there, the case would take shocking turns. So Zoraida began her relationship with Nathaniel in May of 2023 when they were both working at an engineering parts manufacturer. However, besides Zoraida being married and having a family, Nathaniel himself was engaged to a woman named Ermelinda Palomo, who was 50. They had been together
Wait,
for 8 years.
He wait, he was 32?
Yeah,
So he
she was
started dating her when he was 24
20, whatever, 4. Yeah,
and
she's 18 years
and
older.
she was 42.
Yeah, she's a lot older.
Damn.
Which
Damn, Emelinda, you get
let's,
yourself some.
let's put a pin in that and discuss age differences later at the end.
Ooh,
I
let's do an episode on
uh,
age gap
it's
love.
May, September, yeah, because yeah, I just have.
We could talk about that time you were dating like a 21-year-old when you were 45.
Okay, sure. I'd love to talk about that. Jeez Louise. Okay, so they began their affair. Zoraida and Nathaniel began their affair in May of 2023. Now, by June, Zoraida began receiving threatening messages to stay away from Nathaniel or she and her family would be harmed. The person sending the messages said that Nathaniel was about to be the center of a murder investigation, and Zoraida had shared the messages with friends, but no one contacted the police. I don't know. Would you have contacted the police if you started getting, well, this is to say, if you were cheating with someone and then you got these messages, would you have contacted the police? I just wonder because in hindsight, it's like, oh, neither she or her friends contacted the police.
I
But would you
mean,
really?
I don't. I think I would contact the police. But
Yeah.
first, I'd have to fess up to my indiscretion.
That's the thing. That's the thing. This is, oh, what a tangled web we weave, right? So, you know what I mean? Like when you're in under this circumstance, you might feel like, I can't really talk about people threatening me because then I got to talk about how I'm cheating, you know? So
Yeah.
I don't know. This is all pure congestion. This is just discussion. Anyway, so in July, so about a month later, Zoraida's husband, Alberto, started receiving messages, probably because Zoraida didn't stop, right? So now the messages are revealing to him, Alberto, that his wife and Nathaniel are having an affair. And he was told in these messages that Nathaniel had a violent past and that Alberto's children were in danger. So when Alberto heard about the affair, he went and slashed Nathaniel's tires, but later he sent Nathaniel a payment to fix the tires and a letter telling him to stay away from his wife.
Hmm.
So Nathaniel had a history of unfaithfulness in his relationship to Ermelinda, in his relationship with Ermelinda. So this is where later on I want to talk about the age difference. So let's back up now. So this murder happened in 2023, but 2 years prior, in 2021, Ermelinda began creating multiple online personas she used to communicate with Nathaniel. Okay, you guys have to just put your unbelievable like the hats aside. You have to just open your mind to this, okay? She began creating these online personas. Personas, how do you say it?
Per-
Persona,
person,
tomato.
personas.
Person.
Per-
Okay, that's how I say
personas?
tomato. Okay, she created multiple online personas she used to communicate with Nathaniel under the guise of being Mexican cartel bosses, shot callers, hitmen, and hackers. Ermelinda used a Pinger mobile app to generate phone numbers for each persona, and they would encourage Nathaniel to be faithful to Ermelinda, to stop speaking with other women, and to treat Ermelinda nicely.
So
She
Ermelinda knew that he was like running around town.
so she created these online personas
Uh,
telling her,
how about
and
Ermelinda just having a conversation with Nathaniel that went like this? Hey, I know you're swinging your dick around town. And then Nathaniel goes, but I don't want to be faithful to you anymore. And Ermelinda goes, okay, then I'm going to hit the
okay,
road.
bye.
Bye. And Nathaniel goes, okay, bye. And then he can still swing his dick around town and she can go and do something else.
I mean, your guess is as good as mine. To go to these lengths, maybe she just really loved him. I don't know. Um, I just find it incredible that he's receiving these messages from what he thinks is the Mexican cartel,
Hmm.
and they're telling him to be nicer to her,
Yeah.
and be faithful to her. That like the Mexican cartel has that
Right.
that
Like they
that's that.
care about that. And also, like, what the actual F do you really think that Nathaniel thought for 1 second that that was actually a cartel boss who had the taking time out of his busy day of running like some huge drug operation to go, oh, and by the way, you should be nicer to your wife. Come on.
Well, the way it played out, it seems like he did. He bought it hook, line, and sinker. Ermelinda convinced Nathaniel, as the cartel, that he was under constant surveillance by the organization and that the leaders
Good
questioned his
God.
loyalty and trustworthiness. You guys got to keep an open mind. That woman, there's a woman in France who thought she was having an online relationship with Brad Pitt. This is no joke. You can look it up.
Oh,
And
dear God.
she gave this person who was obviously not Brad Pitt almost $1 million. So based on
Wow.
years of communication, the investigators looked at all their communication. Nathaniel's responses seemed to indicate he fully believed the information being fed to him by Ermelinda, but did not know Ermelinda was the person he was communicating with. On September 14, 2 days before the murders, Ermelinda, under the cartel alias, convinced him that Zoraida was a mole in the organization and was planning to attack him.
Oh, dear
Under
God.
the, yeah, this is so crazy, this story. When I heard it from Gisela, I was like, we got to talk about this because there's so much crazy shit out there probably happening right this minute, Joy, that we're going to talk about down the road. So, under the cartel alias, Ermelinda worked with Nathaniel to plan Zoraida's murder. They researched the neighborhood to locate cameras, planned how to get in and out of the house, and learned the house behind Zoraida's was vacant. Over the days following, Nathaniel called in sick to work and began planning the murders with the fake accounts he believed were members of the cartel. The quote unquote cartel and Nathaniel discussed the people residing at the residence, including Zoraida, her husband Alberto, and their 2 children, as well as the number of and types of dogs in the house. The cartel, quote unquote, told Nathaniel to cause damage to make the scene appear to be a burglary committed by kids. They reassured Nathaniel by telling him many murders go unsolved. So on September 16, 2023, around 3:17 a.m., Ermelinda, the real Ermelinda, drove Nathaniel to the murder scene and back. Believing he was working for a hitman in the cartel, Nathaniel carried out the murders while Ermelinda waited in the car. So this is incredible to me because he had to have revealed to her. I don't know what he revealed to her. We won't know. Did
So
he
he's
say to her,
killing the woman that he's having an affair with?
yes, and her entire
That
family?
doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, the cartel convinced
Maybe,
him.
maybe, the sex wasn't that good.
Oh God, you're terrible. The cartel. Now, this is the cartel. Now, you have to remember, I'm just trying to get into Nathaniel's frame of mind. She didn't start as the cartel. He did not receive these messages from the quote unquote cartel just that year. It had been going on for 2 years. Remember, so she's gotten into his psyche that he's actually, communicating with them. So he has, right, this communication with what he thinks is the cartel for 2 years. So everybody keep that in mind. She didn't just create this in 2023 when she wanted to get rid of his mistress. She had been doing this for 2 years. Okay. So, but what I find interesting is she drove him to commit the murder. So what did he say to her? Like, what did he say to her? I just need you to drive me and wait in the car. I mean, like, what did he,
Well,
you know what I mean?
remember, they told him to be nicer to his wife, so maybe he's like, why don't we go to the drive-through and then I want to spend extra time with you and then could you just wait in the car for me because I need to go pick something up. I'll be right back.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but
I don't know.
sad
Very confusing.
it is. But what's sad is that before he entered the home, Zoraida, the woman he was having an affair with, she had texted him telling him how much she loved him. So, as he entered the home, police said that Nathaniel cut two screens to indicate a potential break in before he walked in through an unlocked door to the kitchen. Always lock your doors, everyone. When Alberto exited his room, when I always do when I'm home, when Alberto exited his room to see what the sound was about, Nathaniel began firing shots. And then Alberto ran to protect his wife, Zoraida, and his two children, but he was shot multiple times. Then Nathaniel moved into a bedroom where Zoraida and her, did I say Zoraida? I go back and forth. So Nathaniel, after shooting Alberto, he goes into a bedroom where Zoraida and her two children are located. But he shoots through the door, he kills Zoraida, and then he enters the room and kills the two children. And what's really sad is you have to imagine they saw their mother being killed before they themselves were killed, which, was probably a split second, but still how upsetting. And then two dogs were shot in the kitchen and a third in a bedroom. Tables were unturned, windows cracked, and spray paint was found on walls in what police say was an attempt to throw investigators off by creating the appearance of kids committing a senseless crime.
Wow.
After the murders, Nathaniel and the fake account, so he's talking to what he thinks is the cartel, okay? He discussed the killings and then he told them he forgot to take Zoraida and Alberto's cell phones, which was like part of the plan, okay? And so, as I mentioned earlier, the police discovered the murdered family on September 17. And based on digital evidence, Romeoville police separately tracked down Nathaniel and Ermelinda and questioned them on September 18. The two denied any involvement in the killings, and at that time, there was no solid evidence, so they were sent home. The morning after the murders, Nathaniel had gone to work, police said, noting they interviewed him at work that same day. Nathaniel admitted to his relationship with Zoraida, but denied any involvement in the murders. He refused to allow police to search his GMC Yukon. And later that day, he was seen. Yeah, now, what do you think about that? Is that like a sign of guilt, you think?
I don't know. I will say that sometimes it's interesting. I'm sure that they probably would have come back with a warrant at some point because it doesn't
You're
sound
right.
like it doesn't sound like he was like very good at covering up his tracks. So they probably were like, this guy's small potatoes. We're going to go get a warrant and come back. But I've also seen videos where like police officers don't always give people the option to wait for a search warrant. So I don't know, like sometimes if there's probable cause, I don't know. People are so sue happy nowadays. Maybe the police departments have backed off and said, listen, let's not be so quick to, say probable cause and search people's cars and things like that when we arrest them or when we pull them over because, we are it generates too many lawsuits or something. I don't know.
Mhm.
I'm sure there's statistics out there as to why.
So yeah, they must have gotten a warrant because later that day he was seen transferring a bag containing firearms from his GMC to another person, which I never saw who that person was, but the bag and its contents were later seized. But yeah, the law enforcement has to be so careful about searching, unlawfully and all that stuff because they don't want the case thrown out on a technicality, because that
Yeah.
has happened. That has happened. So on September 19, Ermelinda sent a message to her family saying, "Take care of my grandbabies." So the family filed a missing persons report because she sends that and then she goes MIA. Okay.
Hmm.
So by September 20th, investigators considered Nathaniel and Ermelinda suspects in the murder case. Video shows Ermelinda and Nathaniel walking into a Walmart store in Catoosa, Oklahoma, side by side, shopping for electronics and in the makeup aisles. And as they left the store, they were seen on camera smiling. Catoosa officers were in the parking lot waiting. Video showed officers chase after the suspects who managed to flee in their vehicle. And a short distance later, the GMC drifted into a center divider and crashed before coming to a stop. After the vehicle came to a rest, a fire started near the driver compartment, possibly set by Nathaniel. This is what police say, but how can they know, right? Nathaniel shot Ermelinda in the head, killing her. He shot himself under his chin, but that gunshot did not kill him, so he shot himself again in the head. Nathaniel died on scene. Ermelinda was taken to the hospital where she died later. So Oklahoma officers could be heard on their body camera saying Nathaniel was an armed and dangerous murder suspect out of Illinois, and another officer can be heard saying this about Ermelinda. She's the missing person endangered. He's the murder suspect. And another officer replies, it didn't look like she was being held against her will. So because Ermelinda sent that message to her family, take care of my grandbabies, the police thought that Nathaniel was kidnapping Ermelinda. That's why one officer was like, man, she sure didn't look like she was, a hostage or being kept against her will. So it was it was probably so confusing, and it took until, them unraveling what actually happened before it made sense.
Right.
So Nathaniel did not know the years-long communication was fake, or that it was Ermelinda behind the keyboard the whole time. We will never know what the conversation was in the car before he shot her, though, and they crashed into a fire explosion.
Right.
Do you think, because the online conversation is, did she reveal to him in the car what she had done with this cartel persona? Because why would he have shot her?
I don't know. I will say this.
What do you think, though? What do you think?
Well, I will say this. I very, very, very seriously question whether or not Nathaniel was of sound mind.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say, I think he knew.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I don't think he was very bright. And I don't mean that in a discriminatory or any kind. I kind of get the feeling that he was maybe gullible, or maybe he was disabled in some way, because he kind of fell for this hook, line, and sinker. Cheryl, if I start getting phone calls from somebody who says they're the FBI and I'm going to have to kill some people, or I'm going to have to go and dig a storm shelter and live in there and take dried food goods, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna do it. And and if they start, saying stuff about family, I'm going to really vet their authenticity before I believe it. I mean,
I know.
I do think that Nathaniel was most likely involved in criminal behavior, meaning maybe he drank a lot or did drugs. Maybe he had been involved in the past with the police somehow, because he didn't seem to have a moral compass, in that he was okay to buy a gun, okay to go and make a plan to kill somebody, especially somebody he was having an affair with. So he was married to a woman and he was always running around on her. So his moral compass was already in question.
You're right. And so that could make him susceptible, right, to that kind of manipulation. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
but it does also make me wonder, I mean, because if you think about it, if he had been cheating this whole time on Ermelinda, there's got to be a reason. So I always look at it this way. When you see a relationship where it just doesn't match up, and I'm not saying that there can't be age gap love relationships, that's not my issue. My issue is you're married to someone and you're cheating on them all the time, which you've already said that Nathaniel was doing on Ermelinda. And Ermelinda's at the end of her rope and she's like, I'm going to make up this unbelievable situation and I'm going to trick him into like she must have known that Nathaniel was either soft in the head, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean he was very gullible, or maybe he wasn't very bright, or maybe he didn't turn over all the rocks in situations. So she's like, I'm going to trick him. So she must have made him very angry that he killed his lover. So maybe she did tell him, and then he lost his temper and shot her because he's with Ermelinda for a reason. My guess is financially,
Yeah.
she was probably supporting him, or she
Mm-hmm.
was probably paying the most of the bills, or, like there was something there that was benefiting him. And and at the end, it was like, he's like, well, I'm probably going to go to prison anyway, or I don't want to live the rest of my life in prison. So I'm going to kill her and I'm going to kill myself.
Right, right. No, I absolutely agree. It's believed that Ermelinda was able to trick Nathaniel into thinking that he needed to kill Zoraida and her family by pretending to be from a Mexican cartel who threatened violence and death over Nathaniel's affair with Zoraida and Nathaniel's indifference to his relationship with Ermelinda. So, like you said, the question is, was Nathaniel not mentally well? Like you said, was he just incredibly gullible or paranoid? Was Ermelinda able to toy with his mental health? I think we can say yes, right?
Yeah.
So, just as you had alluded to, Nathaniel had a criminal past, which raises
Surprise,
questions.
surprise.
You are a genius. He had a criminal past, which raises questions about how he got a hold of the guns. His criminal past should have been a red flag, including a court order banning him from possessing firearms.
Shoulda, woulda,
Nathaniel,
coulda.
yep. And this is where we have talked about, the school shootings and all of this with the whole gun issue. But anyway, Nathaniel had a security company that did not have a license to operate in the state of Illinois, which is very scary, right? You use a security company and they don't even have a license. He had been on police radar for years. In a court document from 2017, he was to refrain from possessing a firearm or other dangerous weapons.
Mm-hmm.
That
How did that
order,
work out for him?
right? That order came after a history of numerous arrests, including a 2016 battery and several DUIs, including an aggravated DUI in 2017. And I looked up aggravated DUI because I'm like, what is that? I know I've heard of DUI, and then I've never heard of aggravated DUI. Have you? You probably, everything.
No, I've never heard of aggravated DUI. Please
Right.
enlighten me.
Okay, so an aggravated DUI. Ooh, I can actually tell Joy something she
I
doesn't know.
know, so
Okay.
exciting.
And this is so exciting. And an aggravated DUI, you guys, is a more serious form of DUI, turning a misdemeanor into a felony due to specific aggravating factors like driving with a suspended license, a third DUI within 84 months, or having a child under 15 in the vehicle. And that is what is this aggravated DUI.
Interesting.
So he had spent at least 30 days in the Cook County Jail and was then put on house arrest, followed by probation for 2 years. On Nathaniel's Facebook page, he publicly flaunted his arsenal of weapons, trying to get people to hire his security company called Black Bear Security. So Nathaniel had confessed to his mother about the murders, although it's not clear if she immediately informed the police about the confession. He told his mother he was being directed by the cartel and was afraid for his safety. When his mother asked why he had to kill the children, he said it was better they were dead than without their parents. So police said while the findings mark an end to their investigation, it does not put an end to the pain many have experienced in the wake of the gruesome murders. The Romeoville police chief said in a release, the tragic deaths of a young family, including 2 young children, will forever impact the surviving family and those that investigated this case. Nothing can prepare a person for such an incident, and nothing can justify such a senseless act of violence. Although finalized, the finality of this case unfortunately does not mean closure for so many continuing to grieve.
Right.
So I know that people are like, I don't understand how this can happen, but catfishing goes on every day. And remember, she had created these accounts 2 years before this murder. And I'm sure
Right.
she didn't just blast him with a bunch of these different personas. She probably created one and it was peppered, right? At first, you're just kind of reaching out and then you create another persona to validate the other persona. You know what I mean? So, like this,
Right.
so maybe he was reached, it's because there are other cases where this has happened where you meet like a drug dealer, just a street corner drug dealer, and then it's like, let me put you in touch with my boss, and then she creates another persona, right? And now
Mhm.
this is the drug dealer's boss, and then it's like, let me introduce you to da da da, and then she starts building. So for those who are just scratching your head going, I can't understand how this could happen to someone. That's how the catfishers do it. It's like innocent and very, you know, they're not bombarding you all at once. They're feeling you out.
It's a
So
long game that they're
it's
playing.
a long game. Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Right? She didn't just
That's
reach out to him and
really
go,
sad.
this is the Mexican cartel. She didn't just, I'm sure she didn't just blast him with that as her first catfishing, right? So,
Yeah, but I
uh,
will also say that, like, there was some reason why she chose to have a relationship with him, just like there's a reason why he believed this, and I'm not saying you're absolutely right. People get catfished all the time. And just like when we've done episodes of people who get lured into cults and
mhm.
they're intelligent and college educated and blah 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 blah. But I will say that I don't know. I feel like I need to do a personality profile on these people, you know?
Yeah,
Or a
it's
psychological evaluation. Feel like she needed to have her head examined, he needed to have his head examined, and unfortunately, the woman that he got involved with at work, her whole family's dead now because she needed to have her head examined for having an affair with this guy.
right. I know. I mean, her poor husband who had no freaking idea, what was
Here's
going
the
on.
deal,
And then the
people. It's
kids.
it's
What the
called work.
fuck?
It's called work for a reason. You go there to work. You don't go there to like hook up with your coworkers. That's a different form of job. That's not work, okay? That's called pleasure. So when you go to work, you just go to work and you get a paycheck. And if you like some of the people at your work and you're thinking about possibly turning that work relationship into a pleasure relationship, maybe I don't know, go home and tell your spouse or something like, "Hey, I met someone at work that I want to bone. Do you think maybe we could take a little break so I could go on like a trip around Bone Town?" I don't understand.
Yes, like people would do that. Well,
Of
one
course they do all the time. In
of
my world, they actually talk that stuff out.
Oh, wow. Well, I wanted to talk about the age difference. I feel like when you're now, I'm not saying this for all May, December. Is it May? Did I say May, September? I did say May, September.
It's
Isn't
May,
it May,
May,
December?
December.
I said May, September. I think I did. Okay. I'm not making a blanket statement about all May, December relationships. Okay. I'm talking
Mhm.
about this one in particular. I think that possibly, this is pure conjecture on my part, that the age difference made her especially insecure, because she's wondering if her 18 er, younger, how do I say this? Her fiance who's 18 years younger is going to be looking at younger people, so I'm like, monitoring everything he does and monitoring
Yeah.
probably his
Well,
electronic communications, and that just made her extra like insecure, you know what I mean? I would think. But he didn't do anything to help himself because apparently he was having an affair. So it wasn't like it was all in her
Right.
mind.
It
But
wasn't like he was an upstanding guy. All right,
right,
here's
right.
the thing. So I'll just um say that obviously there's a social stigma against relationships with large age gaps, especially when the woman is the
The
older
woman,
partner. And I will
yes.
say, for example, I just watched Robert De Niro on an interview with Seth Meyers from last week. He's like 79 years old and he's talking, or 81 years old. He's talking about the fact that he has a 2-year-old. Obviously, his wife is not 79 years old either, because how the fuck did she pop out a baby 2 years ago? He's with a woman who's much younger. There is a societal norm that if someone's going to be older, it's going to be the man.
Going to be the man. Yeah.
Yes.
I thought he was married to the same woman for a long time.
I think,
Did they adopt?
listen, I got to tell you, Cheryl, the pandemic was like, it was like the catalyst to people who maybe were having a rocky time to really, for shit to really fall apart, because you were stuck with that person for like a good chunk of time.
24/7.
And you wanted to pull their hair out, stab them in the eye. And if you stab them in the eye, then you're going to go to prison. So pulling their hair out, but like packing your shit up and leaving was the best course of action. So I will say that studies indicate that older women in age gap relationships with younger men or younger women can experience greater satisfaction. They
Then
they can feel more empowered and experience greater equality in these relationships. A lot of times they're more satisfied sexually in these relationships. They can they also, cuz remember, men hit their sexual peak at a younger age, like usually between like, puberty and, their before they turn 40. And women hit their sexual peaks later in life. And then the other thing is, remember that that autism has been linked to older fathers. So if you're 50 or 60 or 70 or 80 and you're deciding now's the time to have kids and you're a man, there you got to really be very aware that, it comes with, there's also like Down syndrome is linked to, older women in having children. So obviously there's a different set of, whatever. And guys, I'm not a researcher or doctor. So don't come for me if I have misquoted some research paper that I have not read, all right? I'm just saying, for example, I'm not in an age gap relationship that's a large age gap, but I'm 7 years older than my spouse. And when I was younger, which is so ironic, I was more super self-conscious about it. But now I'm not, I don't think of it as being an age gap because we're older, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
It's definitely
also,
different.
there's a 3-year period where we're in the same decade. So it's not that big of a deal. But I will tell you that, like, for example, when I was 37 or 36 and he was 29, I felt a certain way about it.
Yeah, I can see that. I
You
can see
know,
that. But
because
seven,
I just felt like I was getting, you know, I mean, I was no longer in my I was in my upper mid 30s and he was still in his 20s. And I
right,
was
right,
I
right.
was very self-conscious about that. Now I think about it and I'm like, why'd you waste so much time and energy worrying about that? But I think we need to do an episode on this because we see a lot of this in Hollywood and on the news. Um, for example, the university my daughter goes to just recently hired a very famous football coach for their football team. His name is Bill Belichick. He used to be the general manager of the New
Hmm.
England Patriots. And Bill Belichick is 72 years old. And his girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, is 23 years old.
Oh
I'm going to
gosh.
ask you right now. Remember, he also coaches at the university my daughter goes to school at. So maybe she feels really comfortable because she's surrounded by a bunch of kids that are her
Oh
same
my
age.
God.
All right.
Wow.
There's been a lot of, snarky stuff. Obviously, there's a lot going on university campuses, and there's been a lot of like education cutbacks, blah, blah, blah. But I love the idea that the state school had enough money in their football coffers to hire this big time football coach who used
Yeah.
to be from the New England Patriots. And the package deal came with his 23-year-old yoga aficionado girlfriend, who is not that much older than my daughter, who is going to college. Do you think they sit around in the evening and talk about things they did in their 20s and 30s? No, because I
She's
don't
in her
even
20s.
think I don't even think her dad was born yet. So he couldn't even talk
Oh
about how
God.
she was an itch in his pants because she wasn't. Because he wasn't wearing any pants yet because he wasn't
Oh
born.
God. Oh my
So
God.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
I just feel like it's really bad optics. And also, Bill Belichick, like, I'd like to say she's around because you're a great conversationalist or because you're a cunning linguist. But the fact of the matter is it has probably a lot more to do with how much money you're getting paid to lead that football team than it does to any of your linguistics and how cunning you are at them.
Oh God. Oh my God. We're gonna have to do a whole separate episode on this age gap thing. Um, yeah, it's
Seriously.
that's a 50-year age difference as opposed to a 18 is yeah, we'll have to talk about that.
Right.
But bringing it back to, I do want to give my condolences to Zareta and Alberto's families. This was
I
really
thought you were going to
horrific.
give your condolences to Bill Belichick and his 23-year-old girlfriend because something tells me that relationship is
It's
doomed.
not right.
God.
Oh man. And
And also
also,
for all of those of you who are listening to this, who are like, you're just salty because you're old and you're not going to land something that's hot and fresh. I'm like, first of all, I already did.
already
And
have, right?
he's my husband. And number two, I've dated everything from 20 years younger than me to 20 years older than, no, sorry, not 20. I've dated everything from like, I think he was like 14 years younger than me to like 20 years older than me. So I have done my research, all right? And I'm here to tell you, I get it. Age is just a number, but come on, dude. Like,
But 50 or 60 years difference, that's a
exactly.
whole
Well, I mean, like
nother
I
over.
said, I mean, I'm sure she really enjoys the perks of his American Express gold card.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Or
But also,
flying first class,
right.
or I don't know, the lounge at American Airlines.
The VIP lounge.
Exactly. Or maybe when she goes into that shop in Pretty Woman, those ladies wait on her.
Right. Yeah, you never know. You never know. That I will never know. Being in a relationship with somebody that's 60 years older than me.
I
They
know.
would have to
I'm
be a
sorry.
ghost.
I'm sorry. For those of you who are listening to this, please reach out. If you or someone you know is involved in a 50-year relationship, age gap relationship, reach out and let us know what they talk about or what you talk about if this happens to be you, because I am dying to know. And also, if you're the Godiva chocolate people, you should collab with us because I love your heart-shaped chocolates. I'm so fired up now about this Bill Belichick joke of a relationship that I'm going to go downstairs and eat a bunch of Godiva chocolates. All right. And if you're
Um,
in a 50-year age gap relationship and you have not reached out to us, and you're listening to this, it's a real crime. But you know what else is a crime?
What's that, Joy?
That we are out of time.
That is a crime. Well, thank you for listening, everyone, and don't complicate your day. All creativity, commentary, and opinions in this podcast belong to Cheryl and Joy. Music composed and mixed by Gabe McKeon. Logo and merch managed by Cheryl Yamaguchi. Podcast editing, advertising, and social media managed by Joy McKeon. Legal representation provided by John Bojezic. Please like, subscribe, follow, and listen. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Audible.com, Amazon Music, YouTube, and iHeartRadio. And remember, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok, or you can email us at murderandeverythingelse@gmail.com.
Bye, fishes.